which which I think this is the first Extreme Rules match where we've had everything having a stipulation connected to it for a while now, which we kicked off.
Actually, that's true.
Which we've kicked off with the Brawling Brutes, which consisted of Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch, facing off against Imperium, which consisted of the Intercontinental Champion Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci in a good old-fashioned six-man Donnybrook Brawl.
Well, I must say personally, for me, I thought it was the best match of the night.
Agree.
And the highest rated one that I rated out of, with our rating system and that. I loved it. And I was thinking about it, Mick, and I'd be interested on your take on this. All six men trained and grew up in the European style because, of course, the Ring General, Gunther from Austria. You've got Giovanni, who's Italian. You've got Kaiser, who's German, I believe. And then, of course, Ridge Holland and Butch from England and Sheamus from Ireland. You had that real European flavour. It was a touch old school. I loved it. I actually thought it was just a really, really, really good match, and the rest of the show couldn't catch up.
I agree 100%. I do agree with that. When you're coming down to style, I mean, I think because the European style has not been touched so much by the Latino style, Latin American style and that, it's still very much a ground-based, most of it's a ground-based style. And you see things like Butch will grab the fingers, which is, like I think when they had, I think Sheamus locked up and they were about to hit him with one of the shillelaghs, they had him locked up and he had a split finger grip on him. An old school split finger grip, which you don't see the North American wrestlers or that use, or the Japanese wrestlers. It's a very European thing where they use small joint manipulation, and that's what makes their style different. I love the style personally. It's hard hitting. It reminds me of back in the 70s and the 80s in WCW and that kind of thing. Other territories, right? And I thought the match was one of the better matches as far as a multi-man match where they were fighting out on the floor, fighting everywhere. Nobody was lying there waiting for something to happen. Everybody was doing something. Something was happening somewhere along the line. And I like the idea where the faces got the hot start, the heels took over, they worked the heels and the faces come back, and then there was a real brawl in the center of the ring with all six, and then that went to the finish. And I thought it was great because the finish was once again well thought out. So I'd say that whoever produced the match and probably Triple H has had a bit to do with it. They don't want to make Gunther look bad, but they don't want to make Sheamus look bad too. So Giovanni took the pin.
Yeah.
So the Brawling Brutes got over, which are the faces.
Yep.
Gunther looks intact. He didn't look bad at all in the match. Neither did Kaiser, right? And Giovanni Vinci took the pin, right, for it. So I thought the outcome was great. It leads into multi-man matches, say Royal Rumble. It leads into a lot of things. But also, too, it finishes the feud, I think, and Anthony didn't really agree, but I think that it finishes the feud as far as a Intercontinental Belt feud between Gunther and Sheamus.
Oh, you reckon?
And I think it does, and allows somebody else now to look at Gunther. It opens it up. That's what I thought by the way they finished the booking on.
I thought the fact that Gunther wasn't pinned, but Sheamus had pinned Vinci, I could definitely see at least one more match between Gunther, because you'll notice in every match that we've seen, and I've taken notice, I don't know why, it's just you notice certain things. Whenever Butch and Ridge Holland and Ludwig and Giovanni, they always seem to sort of tangle, but you always have Gunther and Sheamus always in the middle, of and they're just facing off or whatever. And it's almost no one touches them, they don't touch anyone else. It's still almost a match within a match.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of thinking by the way it finished that they might finish with that feud, so to speak, or maybe run it through to the Rumble. But I think they're looking at Gunther for other things as well. I think he's such a good worker. Honestly,
what about those chops?
Oh,
When he was going like a bloody Gatling gun with them, like
he was doing the Kenta chops on him.
Oh,
right. And and this is the best I've seen Sheamus work for ages. This series of matches, he's done. It's probably the best work I've seen him do for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
5 to 8 years. Seriously, right? So I'm really happy for him too that he's got an opponent in there and they're going at each other and they can both complement each other's style. I like that.
As you know, you got to have that chemistry with your opponent to really make it work.
And they have a lot of chemistry, but I think if they keep doing it, people will get sick to seeing it. I think it's almost time for them now to say, okay, let's have a break.
Why I think it might go is they keep pushing and pushing and pushing. The only thing Sheamus has not achieved in WWE is the Intercontinental, which would make him a Grand Slam. So that's why part of me thinks he might get the belt for a bit.
Do you sacrifice Gunther for it? That's the question.
Wow.
Gunther is probably one of the next biggest stars next to, Steiner, coming through.
Yeah.
You could see him and Steiner facing off.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Steiner moves up, something happens with the belt, and he ends up going after the Continental belt against Gunther.
Well, he was at the show and they showed him.
That's right. So for me, I think that I think if you keep doing it with
true,
it's just going to lose its edge. I think they need to now say, listen, maybe do Royal Rumble because it'd be team versus team, right? Survivor Series, yeah. And then from there, then look at maybe moving all the guys on. Maybe Gunther drops the belt, then somebody else picks it up, then Sheamus has a run at it. I don't know. But I think if you're going to drop the belt to Sheamus, I don't think it'll do Gunther any favors. And Gunther's the future. No offense to Sheamus, but Sheamus is getting on.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know personally now, does he need the Intercontinental belt? It'd be more of a trophy than a need for the company.
Well, it would just be that thing that gives him the whole Grand Slam thing. So maybe at some point he'll get it.
Yeah. It's always what's best for business. And
absolutely.
And I don't know if you would sacrifice that Gunther at the moment for that reason. I wouldn't. I'm not saying that.
You're probably right. No, you're probably right. What do you think, Anthony?
With this good old-fashioned Donnybrook Brawl, I thought that it was what we expected.
Yeah.
There was nothing, new in there. But I feel that there's definitely space for Sheamus and Gunther to have one more match. There's definitely, I can see it. Even though Manson will 100% disagree with me here. But if you look at it one way, like if we cast back to SmackDown the night before, that finished controversially. So
true, yes.
So there's still space for that. And yes, technically Sheamus didn't pin Gunther, but it's not saying that he still can't go, well, you screwed me. I took out one of your boys. I'm going to keep on taking out your boys until you give me another shot.
Well, there was also the thing on that SmackDown where it looked like Gunther had tapped out, but they're saying he didn't. Because he sort of tapped twice, but not 3 times. And apparently, if you tap out, you got to tap out 3 times. So
it's what they call a Gracie tap. Just tap gently twice, and they let go, and they don't really. I never tapped. That's what they call a Gracie tap.
Yeah, because that's where the finish started to come into play. Yeah. They all came out, and
but this booking is great.
Yeah,
it's not so clear cut or ridiculous.
No.
It was either somebody got hit in the head with a chair, or it was a clean pin, or 10,000 friggin' wall false finishes. Yeah. Now they're starting to use their heads. They're faking taps, finishes like the one further later on in the night. Just now they're starting to get creative with their finishes, which is great. This is what we want as a fan. We want to be entertained. We want to be kept on that roller coaster, not look at a match and go, well, this is how it's going to finish, and it finishes like that. We want to be, kept in suspense a little bit. And I think now we're starting to get a little bit of that now.
Well, you're starting to, it's not quite so, well, it is predictable to a certain degree, but not as predictable. And it's getting a bit more where it gets you in again. Whereas before, you know, it wasn't getting you in. Just on that writing you were talking about, just a very quick tidbit that I came across on Thursday is WWE have hired one of the former Marvel writers onto the creative team now.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Unless they're a wrestling fan, it won't work. But yeah.
That's right. And that's been the problem with WWE for a long time, is they hire TV writers and that have never watched the wrestling match. Don't know the fans. Look, I still believe that the best wrestling writers are guys that were ex-wrestlers.
Absolutely.
Right. Ex in the business. They're in the business because they know what the fan wants, whether they're commentators, whether they're referees, whatever. But they know what the fan wants. Yeah. The reality is, if you've never been a fan, you've never watched it, you don't really know what the fans want. Yeah. You're looking from the outside in, and I think it's like asking me to write an opera. I know about an opera. Seriously.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think between Triple H, Shawn Michaels, some of the older heads that are around the WWE, they should be able to write decent cards and decent storylines that will get the wrestling fan involved.
Yeah, Michael Hayes is there. What's his name? Jesse James is there.
The list goes on and on. Jesse James is he's one of the Armstrongs. At the end of the day, one of the they're almost the royalty of Southern wrestling.
Yeah, there's a family.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I'm going to bring in somebody from Marvel. I'm going to bring in somebody. I think it's honestly ridiculous because we're not comic book. We're live action heroes, but we're not comic book heroes. And we're always looking at morality, right and wrong. I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing about writing pro wrestling is good versus evil, right and wrong.
Yeah.
And right will always eventually triumph wrong.
Yes.
That's why the heel always gets his comeuppance at some point.
Yeah.
So, and if they don't get their comeuppance, then it's a waste of time.
Yeah. No, I agree. But look, as far as the match goes, I love this match.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8.5.
I gave it a 7 because it was the opener. I could have probably went higher. If it was main event, I would have went higher. But I thought, oh, well, this is how they're starting the card. The card's got to get better. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, no, certainly not the next match. But I actually went 8.5. I gave it the highest rating of the night.
Well, that was my highest rating, 7.
Oh, okay.
But I was expecting better.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony? What do you think?
I went a 5 on this. The reason why I did that.
Oh, really?
The reason why I did that was I'm kind of kicking myself at the moment here, but the reason why I did that was I think they gave too much to the opening.
Well, look, when the match is put together and you go out, you want your guy as a promoter. I'd want my boys to go out and do the best possible thing they could, and then the rest of the locker room just needs to step up in their matches. I wouldn't score them down because they did such a great job, and it made the rest look shit. The others made themselves look shit.
Oh, yeah.
But that's just me. But anyway, all right, well, that's interesting. But it's good to have different opinions. If we all agree, it'd be a boring podcast.
I do agree it was the best match of the night.
Oh, God,
I enjoyed it.
I loved it.
I enjoyed it. I watched it. And like I said, the reason it got a 7 was because it was the opener. And I thought, well, they've got to improve on that. There's got to be, and I was sorely mistaken. But we can talk about that as we go through.
We will, because the next match probably falls into that category.